In the headlines, Senate rejects President Tinubu's request to deploy troops to Niger. Rising cost of living is pushing many in Kebbi State to self-help. Chicago court dismisses Atiku's suit on Tinubu's records. And on the foreign scene, blood bank university hit as Russia-Ukraine intensify attacks. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I'm Aisha Salihu. Many thanks for joining us. The Nigeria Senate on Saturday urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to tow the path of diplomatic engagement in the political crisis that has engulfed neighboring Niger Republic. The upper chamber also says the letter read by its president, Godswill Akpabio, on Friday was not a call for war against Niger Republic, but the resolutions of ECOWAS leaders. The report.
On Saturday, the upper chamber mandated its leadership to further engage with President Bola Tinubu on how best to resolve the crisis in Niger Republic in view of the cordial relationship between both countries. Akpabio explained that President Tinubu, by virtue of his correspondence, had not asked for Parliament's approval to go to war, as erroneously suggested in some quarters.
On his request for support in the implementation of the resolutions of ECOWAS on the political situation in Niger Republic, and resolved as follows. 1. The Senate condemns in totality the military coup that took place recently in the Republic of Niger. 2. The Senate commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other heads of states and governments of ECOWAS for their prompt response and the positions taken on the unfortunate development in Niger Republic. 3. The Senate recognizes the fact that President Tinubu, by virtue of his correspondence, had not asked for approval of the Parliament or approval of this Senate to go to war, has been erroneously suggested in some quarters.
The Senate therefore called on President Bola Tinubu, as a chairman of ECOWAS, to further encourage leaders of both countries to explore political and diplomatic options in resolving the crisis in Niger and return the country back to democratic governance.
The Senate calls on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as chairman of ECOWAS, to further encourage other leaders of ECOWAS to strengthen the political and diplomatic options and other means with a view to resolving the political impasse in the Niger Republic. The Senate pledges the total support of the Senate and, by extension, the National Assembly to the ECOWAS leadership under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in resolving the political situation in Niger and returning the country to democratic governance in the nearest future.
It also called on ECOWAS Parliament to rise to the occasion by equally condemning the coup and also providing solutions to ending the crisis as soon as possible. Rashidat Yusuf for Trust TV News.
Meanwhile, the Jamaatul Nasr al-Islam (JNI) has cautioned that military intervention may impact the peace and stability of both nations, especially in Nigerian states sharing borders with Niger Republic, which could have unintended consequences. The JNI, in a statement by its Secretary General Khalid Abubakar Aliyu, expressed concern over the seizure of power from a democratically elected President Bazoum through military coup in Niger Republic. It firmly noted the relevance of upholding democratic principles and the rule of law to foster stability, development, and steady progress within nations. According to the statement, the JNI, representing the collective voice of the Muslim Ummah, commends the efforts so far undertaken by the Nigerian government, particularly the initiation of a dialogue process aimed at resolving the crisis in Niger Republic. It admitted that while this attempt may not have yielded the desired results, it demonstrates Nigeria's commitment to peaceful resolutions. The group, however, cautioned against the pursuit of military action as a means to restore democracy in order to safeguard the peace and stability of the northern states of Nigeria and the Republic of Niger. The hardship caused by the current hike in petrol price in the country is said to be pushing helpless Nigerians into nefarious activities. The hike, which adversely affected transportation of goods and services, automatically caused shortage of food items and sharply increased their prices. In this special report, Umar Fanda Mohammed in Birnin Kebbi says reports across the country are indicating that the situation is fast affecting the resilience of Nigerians, forcing the helpless, hungry, and less privileged to break into neighborhoods in search of quick solutions through their hunger plight. The report.
The unfortunate challenges of the unbearable cost of living across many communities in this country is indicating that Nigerians are being circumstantially forced out of their credible norms, modesty, and moral uprightness, embracing infamous behaviors and characters definitely inimical to the growth and development of this country. It is now very common to receive reports of petty thefts of food items breaking into immediate neighborhoods by helpless, jobless, and hungry Nigerians, anticipating quick solutions to their hunger problems, as well as other criminal activities that are increasingly becoming a disturbing phenomenon due to hike in the cost of living. Haruna Ali Usman, a journalist, described the situation as a time bomb.
Subsidy has brought untold hardship to Nigerians, particularly the youth. Already there have been issues of unemployment, which has been causing youth restlessness. Now this is like adding fuel into a burning fire. Now feeding has become a problem, not to only the household, even the unemployed youth. It has increased the rate of crime, like breaking of houses, for people to have something to eat.
The society is now sharply and dangerously divided between the majority poor and extremely rich minority. Just like the old trend of achieving 3 square meals in a day is now a mirage and has become a privilege exclusively reserved to either powerful business tycoons, high-profile politicians, or civil servants with lucrative positions. A bag of rice in particular, which is now beyond the country's minimum wage, as a food item is no more a commodity in the menu of poor Nigerians, while prices of all other grains commonly consumed among our communities like maize, millet, guinea corn, as well as yams and potatoes are equally becoming beyond affordability of ordinary citizens. Where next is Nigeria going to find himself if this situation persists and drastic measures are not taken and remedy its ugliness? This is a question I asked Comrade Usman Mohammed Anachi.
If this situation continues without a remedy, Nigeria is going to find himself in the grave. And if it continues, there will reach a time when nobody can even bury the dead. Because the people who are there to bury the dead have not eaten the food, so they don't have even energy to dig a grave.
This same unfortunate trend of high-profile poverty is now at every filling stations, where making a full tank has become history. Traveling to relations or maintaining brotherhood are all forced out of the people's cherished norms, while in the hospitals, poor Nigerians are dying due to cost of drugs or lack of nutritious food. The historical consequences and negative implication of utter neglect of this kind of compounding problems by the authorities in many countries of the world in the past had always been catastrophic to those in charge. A stitch in time saves 9. From Birnin Kebbi, Kebbi State, Umar Afanda Mohammed, Trust TV.
Ahead of the presentation of judgment by the Presidential Election Petitions Court in Abuja in the petition filed against the victory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the February 25, 2023 presidential election, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in that election, Atiku Abubakar, has suffered a legal blow in the United States of America. A circuit court of Cook County, Illinois County in the U.S. has dismissed the lawsuit filed by the PDP candidate to get access to President Tinubu's confidential educational records at Chicago State University. The former vice president had filed the suit seeking to subpoena the university, but later withdrew the case. According to the circuit court papers, Justice Patrick J. Hennigan dismissed the case without prejudice. In the judgment dated July 31, 2023, the judge held that the petitioner's subpoena in this case is withdrawn and thus Chicago State University will not be deposed pursuant to subpoena in this case. Ruling on the matter, Justice Hennigan said the case is dismissed without prejudice and resolves all matters pending before the court. Atiku had claimed that President Tinubu did not attend Chicago State University. Meanwhile, a leading Chicago State official has again confirmed that the president is a long-time and distinguished alumnus of the university. In an affidavit, the registrar of Chicago State University, Caleb Westberg, deposed that Bola Ahmed Tinubu graduated and was awarded a degree by Chicago State University on June 22, 1979. The Department of State Services has invited and interrogated the Secretary to Ogun State Government, Tokunbo Talabi, over recent allegations of fraud leveled against him. A source from the DSS, who craves anonymity, hinted that the grill took place at the Ogun State Command Headquarters of the DSS, Okemoson, Abeokuta, on Friday at 6:55 p.m. Talabi was reportedly grilled for 5 hours on Friday, but was released afterwards on self-recognition. Talabi's alleged involvement in Superflux Printing Limited has in recent times come under close scrutiny. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, had submitted a petition to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Code of Conduct Bureau, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, demanding a thorough investigation into the link between the Independent National Electoral Commission and a printing company believed to be owned by Talabi during the last elections. But the source said the agency grilled the SSG on a petition logged by Talabi himself on the allegations. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has issued notice of the decision of the National Executive Council of the association to embark on a daily peaceful protest and picketing of the Federal Ministry of Health, Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, as well as federal and state tertiary health institutions nationwide, with effect from Wednesday, August 9. According to a statement signed by the association's president, Dr. Oji Emeka Innocent, and Secretary General, Dr. Chikezie Kalechi, said the move became necessary to press home their demands, which they say have been largely neglected by their parent ministry and the federal government. They said they are pained that rather than make genuine and concerted efforts to resolve the challenges that led to the industrial action despite repeated ultimatums, the government has chosen to demonize Nigerian resident doctors instead, despite their sacrifices and patriotism. The association therefore resolved that it is time the whole world hears their side of the story. The decay and corruption in the health sector, as well as the neglect the public health institutions have suffered all these years that led to repeated industrial actions. Also, the Kaduna State chapter of the Association of Resident Doctors on Friday commenced an indefinite strike. The president of the association, Mahmoud Rufai, told the reporters in Kaduna State that all doctors were given 24 hours to hand over and/or discharge all patients in general and rural hospitals in the state. Rufai said the association demanded full implementation of the new federal government CONMES and skipping, as well as upward review with immediate effect. Rufai said doctors were still on 59% of the reviewed 2009 CONMES, which was implemented in 2014, that the Congress observed non-implementation of the reviewed Medical Residency Training Act and non-payment of the Medical Residency Training Fund for years, which helped doctors on residency program. According to him, the Congress also expressed concern that the government has yet to release circular for recruitment of new staff to replace those who have exited the various secondary health facilities across the state. And now to security matters. The police command in Lagos State has confirmed the arrest of 3 persons following the death of Dr. Ware Diaso at the General Hospital in Lagos State. The command spokesperson, SP Benjamin Hundeyin, confirmed the arrest on Saturday in Lagos. Hundeyin, who did not mention the identities of the suspects, said that the police had begun investigation into the case. The case involves a faulty elevator at the General Hospital, Odon, Lagos, which claimed the life of a medical doctor, Ware Diaso, who was working at the facility. The incident reportedly happened on Wednesday evening when the deceased, who lived on the 9th floor of the building, wanted to meet a dispatch rider who had brought half the food she earlier ordered online. The deceased, a graduate of Babcock University, Ileshan Remo, Ogun State, was said to be undergoing her mandatory 1-year internship program at the hospital and had less than 2 weeks to complete the program before the tragedy happened. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at the negative effect of price hike on women. Details of this story and more to come after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. Now let's take a look at some of our major stories. We told you that Senate rejects President Tinubu's request to deploy troops to Niger Republic. Also, rising cost of living is pushing many in Kebbi State to self-help. And now moving on to other stories. Sustained military operation in Zamfara and Sokoto states may be informed by the resurgence of banditry in the northwest. In this special report, Yushau Ibrahim speaks to locals in the areas taking the heat from the crossfire between the armed forces and the bandits. Let's take a look.
Over the years, competition for land and water between livestock owners and those growing crops has intensified across many parts of Nigeria's northwest region. With over 3 million out of Nigeria's 40 million cotton population, Sokoto State recently recorded a fair share of banditry. What started as localized farmer-herders disputes has degenerated into a more sophisticated and highly organized crime. Few months to the conduct of the 2023 general elections, many communities that were hitherto terrorized by bandits across Sokoto and Zamfara states have enjoyed relative peace as businesses have picked up and academic activities resumed in many schools. Most of the villages that hitherto witnessed series of assaults remain peaceful and free from all forms of banditry and related crimes for months before the election.
On the eve of the election, there was a decline in bandit activities in form of kidnapping, cattle rustling, imposition of levies, gender and sexual violence, and other associated crimes related to the bandits. There are actually so many factors responsible for the decline, one of which is actually the weather. To a very large extent, the election took place during dry season, and by nature of armed banditry, kidnapping, as well as terrorist activities in the Northwest, it was expected that their activities usually go down during the dry season because of lack of vegetational cover and all that. That is actually the first factor. And then the second factor, we've also seen dialogues and the negotiation going on between some government officials, traditional authorities, and these bad guys. And that also contributed significantly in the decline of their activities. And within the context of the military, we've seen a lot of pressure coming from the security agencies. There has never been a time in the history of armed banditry in the Northwest when they had it so bad than on the eve of the elections. We've seen some of the major leaders being taken out. We've seen some of their rank and files actually on the run. We've seen also some camps belonging to some of these notorious bandit leaders being destroyed. For instance, it was on the eve of the election that the notorious bandit Umaru Naguna, who was in charge of Isa and the Sabon Birnin axis, was actually neutralized. And not only that, within the context of the dialogue again, we've seen each and every political party, particularly the leading parties in the Northwest, moving to reach out to some of these bandit leaders. I know there was a very serious discussion between some government officials and traditional authorities with Kacalla Turiji, with the same also Umaru Naguna, who is his neighbor, with Dankarami, who is actually in Zurmi, with Alhaja Ado, who is actually in Aleru, with Goska and the rest of them. So by extension, naturally, there was a bit calm.
However, shortly after the transition of government on May 29, some remote communities in the two states have begun to witness an upsurge in attack and kidnappings by the bandits.
One of the easiest ways of maintaining personal hygiene among women is the use of sanitary pads. However, in recent times, users in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have been complaining of the high cost of pads, a situation they say may deal a negative blow to their personal hygiene. Jimmy Azande reports.
According to the women, sanitary pads are a basic need and not a want that is becoming out of the reach of many due to persistent increase in price.
It is true that the prices of sanitary pad have increased and is telling on our girls right now. It is very sad that some people have to even drop to as low as using pieces, which is very unhealthy. But do they have the choice in a community like this? And with the recent removal of subsidy, the price of everything is on the high side. And the most funny part of it is that salaries are not increasing, no means of, especially for students that solely have to depend on their parents.
As a result of the high cost, some have resorted to improvisation with unhygienic methods.
It has come to an notice that these materials or these pieces of clothes can lead to infection because of the constant usage of these materials. And even when these materials are washed, they are not kept in the open for sun, and they are kept in an enclosed area where sun cannot shine on them or penetrate through. And with that, they develop fungi and bacteria, and at the end of the day, it causes infection.
They urge the government to assist women in this all-important aspect of their lives.
So my own idea, or what I'm trying to say, or like I'm trying to talk about, is we are pleading, I'm also pleading with the government that they should at least reduce some prices of things, so that people that doesn't have money or don't have much will be able to like afford these things and then take care of themselves. Or better still, people that have money, like rich people, even if you are not rich but you can afford this, I think it's very nice for you to like get away to buy all these things for those that cannot afford it, so that they can at least take care of themselves.
We stand to enlighten on the sanitary part, which its price has gone up, and I am here to enlighten young men and older men out there that it isn't a bad thing or morally infuriating something to purchase these parts for women or girls who need it, saying that the price has gone up.
Some of the women who preferred not to be captured on the camera said many of their folks use unimaginable items to help themselves instead of the sanitary pads. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
And now away from Nigeria, a blood transfusion center, a university and an aeronautics facility in Ukraine have been damaged in deadly air raids as Russian and Ukrainian forces escalated their attacks following a strike by Kyiv on a Russian tanker in the Black Sea. The attacks late on Saturday came as senior officials from 40 countries, including China, India and the United States of America, held talks in Saudi Arabia on how to end the war in Ukraine. A final declaration is not expected from the two-day meeting. Ukrainian officials blamed Russia for the attack on the blood center in the eastern town of Kupiansk late on Saturday, while Moscow-installed officials accused Kyiv of using cluster munitions to damage a university in the Russian-controlled Donetsk region. And with that, we've come to the end of the news update at this hour. Do not forget to follow us across all of our social media platforms. Join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thanks for your time.